Hello everyone. This video is going to be about advice to victims of gang stalking. So what being a victim of gang stalking myself, what advice can I give to people who have been gang stalked? What can I say to those who may not have necessarily been gang stalked, but they notice the strange behavior in a community of people towards one individual? What advice can I give? Well, I'll start off with the people who've been gang stalked. Know that you're not crazy. You're not crazy for what you're experiencing. What you're experiencing is pretty much very real. Now, what advice, what wisdom, what gems can I drop from my experience and how I have overcome gang stalking and how to continue to overcome gang stalking? Let me drop some gems for y'all. Some gems, some gemstones. Let me put y'all up on some game. Well, when it comes to dealing with gang stalkers, we have to know the difference between the perpetrators and the followers. The perpetrators and the followers. The perpetrators are handlers, people who enjoy harassing, stalking, and getting negative fuel from their targets. They enjoy it. They're like predators. They hunt people for a living. You know, like hunters for animals when they gather food. Gang stalkers are hunting a target for a specific reason. And a lot of the times you'll probably find out after a while of this happening to you, you'll start to find out why. You may not know why at first. And I would definitely say that when it comes to the gang stalking, it's definitely good to ask the who, what, when, where, how. Who, what, when, where, how, and why. Why, who, and why are probably the most important questions that you'll have. And those are probably the questions that'll be answered last. But you know how when we're in school and we're taught how to solve like conflicts or problems or even mysteries, when we're in the classroom, the teacher always has us do the whole who, what, when, where, why, how thing. I would definitely suggest that when it comes to gang stalking, because when it comes to gang stalking, if you're going to overcome it, your critical thinking, common sense, and problem solving skills are going to have to majorly increase from when we're in school, even college. Like everything that we learned in school, apply it, and even watch some mystery shows where you have to find out who's doing this and why and what happened. And I would suggest watching maybe First 48. And I'm not saying it ever gets to that point. Most of the time with gang stalking, they want to do illegal activity, but they're not necessarily trying to physically harm the target. They're trying to get the target to self-destruct or to harm themselves. The gang stalkers are not allowed to put their hands on you. If they touch you, they're done. Let me make that very clear. They're not supposed to put their hands on you. They can scare the shit out of you and make you think that they're about to put their hands on you, but they're not supposed to. Some of them do, but they end up going to jail behind that. They end up ruining their lives because of that. And trust me, the leaders of the gang stalking program do not care if the middlemen get hurt, die, or ruin their own lives behind this, because the whole point is to install fear and to bully you into complying with the rest of the world, or not the rest of the world, but with the gang stalkers. Okay? And know that the majority of the people who are targeting you have a mental disorder, not a mental illness. They have a mental disorder, a personality disorder. Somebody that has a mental illness may suffer from depression, bipolar, anxiety, and maybe in some cases borderline personality disorder. But they don't go around gang stalking people. Let me make that very clear. These people have most of them who, like I said, that are perpetrators. The ones who are perpetrators have a personality disorder. They have a learning deficit. Something is seriously wrong with these people. It takes for somebody to be mentally disordered to gang stalk another individual and enjoy it. Okay, so that's the first piece of advice I want to drop for you. Another piece of advice that I would like to drop for you is the calmer you are in this situation, the more respect you will gain from the gang stalkers. The calmer you are, the more respect that you will earn from these people. Because the reality of it is, for the most part, they're just observing you. For the most part, the majority of them don't really have a legitimate reason for stalking you until I'm not blaming the victim, but until you create one. Most of the time. Now, there are some that are sick in the head and they get attached to you and they harass you more than the others. Yes, especially the ones that have a drug addiction. They have some kind of an addiction where some of them could be bought. And some of them have addictions, whether it's drug addiction, sex addiction. Some of them have obsessive personalities to where they become attached to people. Some of them have histrionic personality disorders where they love attention even if it's bad attention. So some of these people, those are the ones that really need to go get some professional help. Let's just keep it real. But for the most part, gang stalkers are just observing you. That's it. Let them observe. Let them observe. If you feel the need to document. Do whatever your gut tells you to do. But my suggestion is, document it, yes. But my suggestion is to document it via social media. Like, say for instance, if you see somebody and you notice that they kind of following you, and you know in your gut that this person is following you, if they've done it enough times, then you are within your legal right to record them because it is your safety. You are within your legal right. Like, what I've done with my gang stalkers is, if I've noticed them following me and it's been at least 3 times or more, then I'll pull out my camera and I'll walk up to them and I'll say, "Excuse me, ma'am or sir, are you giving me the legal permission to record you?" If they say yes, then continue to record. Don't say nothing else. Just record them. If they say no, which most of them do not say no because they already know that what they're doing is illegal. If it's gotten to the point where you have to record them, they've been caught. Plain and simple. Most of the time when you do start recording them, that's when the smart ones will flee. The smart ones will flee because they know that they've been caught. And they know that you're within your legal rights to protect yourself, especially from stalking, because stalking is very dangerous behavior. And it a lot of times turns into an even worse crime. Let me make that very clear. So most of the time, they'll either say, "I don't care," or yes. Because they already know that when they're stalking you, that what they're doing is illegal and that you're well within your rights to record them. Okay? So if they say no, my suggestion is to warn them and let them know that if they keep following you, because they know exactly, if they play dumb and they act like they don't know what you're talking about, talk to them as if they know exactly what you're talking about. Because if it's gotten to the point where you have to record somebody, they're following you. And you're not tripping. Don't let nobody who's either a perpetrator or who has not been gang stalked gaslight you into thinking that you're crazy, because you're not. Some people either do not understand what you've been through, or they know exactly what you're going through, but they don't care, and they're gaslighting you because they're a part of it. Okay? I'm validating you. For those who are like, man, it seems like this particular person always follows me this direction. Maybe I should go another direction. And if you go another direction and you see that same person, just know they're following you. You're not crazy. Okay? Don't go to the mental hospital behind something that's actually happening to you. Don't let these people fool you into going to a mental hospital because they're abusing you by proxy. Stand up for yourself and do it the correct way. And I'm going to show you how. I'm going to explain to you how. So, if it's gotten to the point where you have to record them, let them know. You do have to let them know that you can't just go around recording people, or else, yes, you are going to look crazy. You are. Let the person know, hey, excuse me, sir or ma'am, are you allowing me legal permission to record you? Let them answer the question first. Most of the time, they'll either say that they don't care, or yes, and if they refuse to answer, that is nonverbal consent. Anything other than no, you cannot record me is consent. By law, by the way. So if they're following you and you know it, record them. But let them know first that you're doing so. Because however they choose to act on camera, is at that point, it's going to be used against them in a court of law if need be. And you are not legally responsible for defending yourself. And I'm pretty sure your lawyers and their lawyers and the justice system and the judges will understand. Because this person was warned. Okay? So allow them to answer. When they've given you an answer, 9 times out of 10, they're going to give you some form of consent. Then ask them, hey, don't immediately, my suggestion is if this is your first time recording them, don't immediately accuse them, or else you're giving them the tools to gaslight you. Just ask them, hey, I've noticed that, you typically walk, when I'm walking this way, I see you. I often at times see you. I see you a lot. I went this direction home and I see you every day. Then I went a different direction and I saw you, kind of going the same direction that I was going to. I saw, when I switched up, you kind of went the same direction. And I'm just wondering if you wanted to speak to me about something, if you wanted to say hi. Give them the benefit of the doubt. Even if deep down they're stalking you, allow them the opportunity to either kind of expose themselves or lie. And trust me, when they're lying, we'll know. The public will know. We the people can sense bullshit. So allow them the opportunity to either lie to your face or tell you what's up. Because some of them will tell you, like, yeah, I've been watching you. Yeah, I've been following you. Some of them will flat out say it. I've had some that have flat out told me, yeah, I'm following you. I'm stalking you. Some of them have denied it, but you could tell that they were lying. And some of them have kept going even after they've been recorded several times because they thought that they were going to get away with it. Because the federal government is funding these gang stalking programs. So a lot of these perpetrators think that they're untouchable until a legal case has been built up against them, and then they realize that the federal government, at that point, once it's gone to the point where it's gone to the judicial system, and certain rights have been violated, such as them putting their hands on you or them following you excessively to the point where it's obvious, now the federal government can't help them anymore. And now it's gone to the judicial system. It's gone to the courts now. You see what I mean? So let people act how they want to act, but just be smart about it and record them. After you've asked them the first time if you can record them and they've given you consent, if they've given you consent, if you continue to see this person or people, continue to record them and document their behavior. And it'll become very obvious the reason that they're following you and who sent them. It'll become very clear what their intentions are. And you'll have a solid case against that person as well. After a certain point, when you put the camera in their face, they're not going to feel comfortable anymore because they know they've been caught. They know that if they keep doing this, they're going to go to jail. And some of them have records. Some of them have gone to jail for prior offenses. For that's really none of our business. But 9 times out of 10, if they're so eager and willing to do it to you without a probable cause, they've done it to someone else, and they probably have prior criminal charges. So let that person hang themselves by their own rope. Just do what you have to do legally and protect yourself by recording this person. Now, if you ask them for consent to record them and they say no, warn them. Like, okay, well, I just want to let you know that, because if they tell you no, then that pretty much lets you know that they know that you're onto their bullshit, and that's their indirect way of admitting that, oh yeah, I know that you know that I'm stalking you, and I want you to know that I want you to know that I'm stalking you, and I know that you know that I'm stalking you. And they kind of bold and arrogant about it, and just warn them, like, okay, well, if I keep seeing you around here, or say if I go somewhere else and I see you there too, I am going to continue to record you for my own safety. Now, because I'm warning you to stay away. Now at this point, because you're refusing to allow me consent to record you when you do follow me, I'm warning you and letting you know that if you continue with this behavior, because you can deny it all day and night, but if I keep taking pictures, if I keep recording you, it's going to become clear that you're doing it. It doesn't matter if you give me consent, because I didn't give you consent to follow me. I didn't give you consent to invade my privacy by stalking me. So if you keep doing so, I'm going to have no other choice but to document this, whether I choose to take a picture or record you. So you telling me no, I can't record you, I'll stop if you stop following me. How about we make that a mutual agreement? Stand up for yourself. Now, I have not met not one person who has not given me consent because they knew that they were stalking me. So if they told me no, then that would mean that they would have to give me distance, basically. Because they're still going with the, oh, I'm not stalking you story. I'm just around the neighborhood. I just so happen to be bumping into you. Okay, well, if I go somewhere else, if I switch up my patterns and I go somewhere else and I see you there too, then it ain't no coincidence. And now we bumping heads now. And I know you don't want that, because reality of it is you're stalking me. Okay, so that would be the proper way to deal with it. Now, like I said, I've not met not one gang stalker that is not given consent in some way, shape, or form to recording them, because they know that they're stalking you, and they know that you don't really have any other choice but to document them. And if they tell you no, and you continue to see them in public, it's going to be even more obvious that they're playing mind games. It's better that they basically play it cool and act like they're just, like, oh, well, I don't have a problem with it, because it takes suspicion off of them when they give you consent. It takes suspicion off of them. But if they say no, and especially if they say no and you never see them again, they look innocent. They kind of look innocent in the situation, and they can kind of flip it around on you. But if they tell you no, that you cannot record them, and you see them somewhere else, and you keep seeing them in different places, it's going to become obvious that they're gaslighting. So my suggestion is, ask for their consent, allow them the opportunity to either admit to you that they're stalking you, or let them make up their own story and listen patiently, because I know that this is a very frustrating situation, being gang stalked. It's annoying. At first it's a bit traumatizing, because it's like it happens out of nowhere, and then it gets to a point where it's utterly annoying. It's extremely annoying. But when you start standing up for yourself, it's going to get to a point where you don't even care. And it's going to get to the point where they're going to have to back off. So even if you're still being gang stalked, there's different people being sent after you, and it won't even matter. You'll probably be able to sense them when you see them, but it's not even going to matter by then, because they can't keep sending the same people. And then after a certain point, the gang stalking program will probably fade into the background and become null and void and irrelevant to your life. Because at this point, they already know if they keep sending the same people after you, it's going to become too obvious. And if they send different people, it's not really going to matter anymore. And it's going to be almost as if they don't even exist, which is a good thing, because they'll be easier to ignore. And if it gets to that point where the gang stalkers become easy to ignore, they'll become irrelevant, therefore stripping them of their power. So it's really a chess game. It's really a psychological game, really. And it's kind of learning to let go of the power struggle and let people act how they're going to act and let people do what they want to do with their lives. At some point, when they've been ignored enough, or when they're being held accountable to the point where it no longer benefits them, they have really no other choice but to leave you alone, essentially. So that is the advice that I would give for those who are being gang stalked. Don't freak out. I know it's like, because it's like, when you're dealing with people who just stalk you out of nowhere, especially if they get aggressive, it may be a bit scary, or it may get to the point where you're like, look, mofo, if you get too aggressive, you gonna catch these hands. You know what I mean? Like, don't make me hurt you, because if they get too aggressive, you do have the legal right to defend yourself. Like, let them know you ain't the one. Most of them know you ain't the one. But if it gets to that point, let them know you're not the one. But also, let them know that they're irrelevant and that they can be ignored too. So that they really don't have any fun watching you. They're not having any fun watching you. And if it gets to the point where, like I said, you can build a case against these people, they're going to be forced to stop, and they can't really keep sabotaging you anymore. Because I know it got to the point where I was able to build up a solid case against the people who were gang stalking me, and now it's gotten to the point where they can't sabotage me anymore, or else they'll face legal charges. Because there are good people in the justice system. Don't give up on the justice system. Document and go to the right resources. Use your resources. Because most of the time, gang stalking has something to do with either a religious cultism or human trafficking. If the federal government is involved, they can get in some big, serious trouble if people who have authority over them hold them accountable for their illegal acts. Best believe. And it's gotten to the point, at least in my particular case, where if I'm still being gang stalked, the people that are involved they're not trying to go to jail. No one wants to go to jail. The whole point of them doing this, the reason why some of them are doing this is because they're trying to expunge their record. Some of them are trying to actually expunge their record because they have a record. They have a criminal record. They're not trying to, do a plea bargain and then working with the feds, all just to go back and face even more charges on top of the ones that they were supposed to clear. So, as long as you can build up a solid case with evidence, my suggestion is, if you decide to write a time log, say you can't necessarily take pictures, but you could write a time log, share it on social media. Read the time log, almost like a vlog diary. Share it with the public, because there are good people within the justice system that will solve these cases, especially if there's a paper trail. You're able to document when some things happen. Go to, for some of you, go to the domestic violence hotlines. Go to Battered Women Justice Project services. Go to the human trafficking hotlines and call them, because 9 times out of 10, if you're being gang stalked, there's not only domestic violence that's being involved, but you're probably, in some ways, I do believe that gang stalking is in some ways a form of human trafficking, yes. Psychologically, yes. If someone is able to master your mind, they may not want to capture you physically, but they're doing so mentally. If you're able to break somebody down mentally, you're able to influence them to stop. You're able to decrease their motor skills. And also, just to let you know, if you go to the Battered Women's Justice Project and you watch the video, how to legally identify human trafficking, If you've been gang stalked for a long period of time, that is legally considered human trafficking. If you're in a domestic violence situation where your motor skills in some way is being manipulated or controlled or coerced into a complete stop, it is considered human trafficking. By the way, just letting you know, it is a form of slavery. It's like you know how some people are in domestic violence situations and they have an abusive partner, and the abusive partner may not physically put hands on them. Like, they may not be like physically abusive, they might not be beating them up or sexually abusing them, they may not even be holding them hostage, but they're emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and psychologically abusing that person to where they can't find work, they can't take care of themselves, they can't socialize with other people, they can't get out the house because they're being so severely abused mentally that all their motor skills have been compromised. That is a form of human trafficking. It's just psychological, especially if it's been happening for a long period of time. So you can also document that. Times, dates, you know what I'm saying? Years. Because most of the time when people are being abused on that level, when it deals with gang stalking, it's been happening for a very long time. And the things that we overlooked and missed in the beginning stages of the gang stalking start to unravel and become more familiar. Certain people, certain faces, certain places become more familiar when we start to kind of document things. And we start to realize that some of the people who've been gang stalking us that we just now started noticing probably were gang stalking us for a very long time. And we saw them somewhere else. And we only started recognizing them recently because they kind of got more comfortable and they all up in our face now. But they've been doing this for quite some time. And I have some videos of some people who have been gang stalking me, some perpetrators that have been gang stalking me for years, for at least 10 years. And I didn't really realize who they were until they started to get more bold. And I was like, oh, wait, didn't I see you before? Didn't you go to my school? Didn't you show up at my job before? Didn't you do this? Didn't I see you somewhere? Don't you live in my neighborhood? Because they start to become more familiar. And we can't expect people who are not being gang stalked to understand until it either happens to them or someone close to them and they see it. So don't give people who don't know about gang stalking or who have not been gang stalked too hard of a time, because they don't know. That this is where, unfortunately, this is a situation that requires patience and a level of equanimity, mental calmness to overcome, essentially. With these gang stalkers, you have to defeat them with the mind, not the emotions. If you do it with your emotions, unfortunately, in some cases, they have been successfully able to make certain people look crazy. They have. Unfortunately, it has been the case for some people where they were successful in this, because certain people, they didn't know the tools that they could use to solve this problem. They didn't know what appropriate steps or measures that they could use. And I mean, who can blame them? When being gang stalked, I'd say 100% of us have been blindsided. We didn't know it was coming. We just happened out of nowhere. The only people that I could say that knew they were about to be gang stalked or could suspect that they were about to be gang stalked were people who found out information to things that they weren't supposed to know about, like top secret stuff that they weren't supposed to know about in high places. They probably suspected that at some point they were going to be stalked and harassed and followed and bullied into submission or threatened into silence. But any other case, most of the time we're blindsided. We a lot of times don't even know why this is happening to us until later on down the line. Or other people start sharing their story and being like, oh, well, there could be other reasons for your own personal reasons as to why this is happening to you. But on a general scale, they're doing it because of A, B, and C. I do believe that we all have our personal reasons, but there's a common denominator between all of us targeted individuals. There's definitely a common denominator. And it's good to find out the common denominator first. If you start noticing that you're being gang stalked, and you're like, oh yeah, this is definitely happening to me. There's not a question, because most people like who are being gang stalked, they know they're being gang stalked, because it's been happening for so long that it's too overwhelming to be a coincidence, and it's not at this point. And all you got is you and your word and other people who've been through what you've been through. And you can even go on certain websites and ask, like, why is this behavior happening to me? And somebody will tell you, you're being gang stalked. You're being gang stalked. Some of them will flat out tell you. Some people will flat out tell you because they know they've been through the exact same thing that you've been through, and they've gone through the exact same process. The paranoia, the fear, the anxiety, and then there comes the self-defensive aggression, which is understandable when you're dealing with people who act like they're going to put their hands on you, but they really acting like they're going to do it. And you kind of get into a point where you're like, okay, the fear is gone, the paranoia is gone, because I know that this is happening to me. These people are really starting to piss me off because I haven't done nothing. So I'm about to put hands on somebody if they want to get buck. If they want to get tough, I'm about to put hands on somebody because this is self-defense. And I know I didn't do nothing to nobody where they need to be coming at me aggressive like that. I know, I understand. I've been through the exact same thing. These people act like they done lost their goddamn minds and they want to get slapped the shit out of. Reality of it, they act like they done lost their goddamn mind and that they want a knuckle sandwich for breakfast. For real. And they gonna make a turn a good person gangster over some bullshit. Realistically. So trust me, I know what some of y'all have been through, and that's why I'm giving this advice, because I've been through it. So just know that getting gangster with them is not the best solution unless they put hands on you first. And a lot of them are cowards. They don't have the courage. They'll buck at you to see if you're going to flinch, but they don't have the courage to put hands on you. Not while you're awake, not while you're conscious. Some of them would try to do some slick shit while you sleep. I'm going to be real with you on that. Because they don't have the courage. They know that you got them hands. 9 times out of 10, you will knock their ass out. These punk-ass targeted individuals, you will knock their punk ass out. Trust me. They do not want to catch them hands. They do not want the smoke. They don't. A lot of them got baby lungs anyway. They not trying to catch any of the smoke. They don't want it. They really don't. Trust me, they don't. Or else they wouldn't be as passive aggressive as they are. But no, if you put hands on them, like if they walk up on you and you put hands on them, they can sue you now. They can sue you. That's why I suggest recording them. Because it don't matter what you do throughout the day. It doesn't warrant somebody stalking you. It don't matter if you go to the movies every day. It don't matter if you go to the library every day. It don't matter. It doesn't give someone the excuse to invade your privacy and stalk you. It doesn't. So putting hands on them is giving them the probable cause to sue you and get money out of you. Don't do it unless they put hands on you first. If they put hands on you first, give them that warning. If you put hands on me, I will fuck you up. Just know that. I have the legal right to fuck you up. Let them know. Let them know you're not playing. Trust me. Most of them can already tell. That's why they so passive aggressive in the first place, because most of them already can sense your energy that you ain't playing. That's why they try to get to your mind first. They try to make you paranoid and fearful, because they know you got them hands. That's not a question. The question is, are you going to be emotionally stable enough to handle it correctly? That's the test. Are you going to be emotionally stable enough to handle their tactics? My suggestion is, don't even let it get to that point. If you suspect that someone is stalking you, and you've seen them enough times to where you know in your heart it is not a coincidence, ask them for consent to record them. If they do not answer or they do not say no, that is legal consent. Record them each and every time you see them and post it on social media and let people know that this person is a perp. And they will stop. If they don't, you can legally press charges against this person. The justice system sees all of our videos, especially if there's a case. Like I said, these things build up. If they start seeing that somebody's name is in the record enough times, it's gonna raise a public eye, especially if you, the targeted individual, is using your resources, like the domestic violence hotline, like human trafficking, like Battered Women Justice Project, and so on and so forth. There's so many other resources out there that you can use, because essentially, gang stalking is abuse by proxy. Don't let anyone tell you that it's not. It is abuse by proxy, and you can legally respond to these people. If you handle it the right way and you legally respond to these people, they have no other choice but to leave you alone. And if they keep bothering you, then it's going to get to the point where the justice system does get involved and gets aggressive with these people. Because if a perpetrator becomes an enemy of the law, it's a wrap. They're done. You hear me? It ain't no plea bargain that they can plea their way out of. If you are able to press charges against a perp, that's basically a restraining order. It basically is. I mean, and not legally, but say if you press charges against them for harassment and the police, and there are other witnesses, and the police write them a ticket, or they get sent to jail, and then they come back again and mess with you again, and then the police get called again. That person's going to face charges. And if you want to press charges, you can keep pressing charges. And then it's like, okay, well, I would like to get a restraining order. I would like to get a protective order against this person now. I've had to call you 4, 5 times, or however. Most of the time, I'm gonna be honest. From my experience, I've dealt with perpetrators that have harassed me so much that there were witnesses involved. I didn't even have to call the police. I didn't have to do any of that. Most of the time, you may not either. If somebody says, oh, hey, you know what I'm saying, you want me to call the police? Yeah, just say yeah. Most of the time, they already had the police called beforehand. You won't even have to answer. You won't even have to say or do anything. Because essentially, you know, there are good people out there that can see. They're not blind. Like it's like when we're little kids and we think that we're slick when we take cookies out the cookie jar, or when we try to sneak out the house. You know, we may have gotten away with it with the first time, the second time, the third time, maybe even the fourth time. But it gets to a point where there's a trail. It becomes evident. It becomes obvious, right? And then somebody somewhere saw. So all while you thinking your parents ain't see you take the cookie out the cookie jar, your auntie may have been watching you. Or say you snuck out the house and you may have thought everybody in the house was asleep, but the neighbors was watching you. You know what I'm saying? Just stuff like that. So these gang stalkers, they think they're slick. But there's always good people out there that are watching, that can see. There could have been neighbors, you know, just so happen to be on their balcony and they watching this person harass you. They may come out you know, it may be a neighbor that come outside and sit on the porch, sit on the balcony at the same exact time that you walk home, and they may not even be a gang stalker. But they see that there's somebody always following you, walking behind you. And say if some shit pop off and the police are called, that one neighbor may be the neighbor to testify. You know what I'm saying? So it's like there's always a cause and effect. And as long as you stay calm, there may be a good person out there that may speak up for you. You do the right thing, though. You do your thing. You know, and only call the police when absolutely necessary. Make sure you've gathered your evidence so that when the police come, they have something to work with. 9 times out of 10, you may not even have to call the police, because these people are very abusive and they will step out of line, and somebody else will probably be a witness and call the police for you. It is always better to have a witness with you, whether it's somebody you know or it's people around you. 9 times out of 10, there will be somebody that'll be like, hey, I saw that. I already called the police. Don't even worry about it. You ain't got to say nothing. I'm a witness. I saw that. Because people already understand how the law works. If there's a witness, especially a witness that doesn't know you personally, the police will understand, oh, this person don't even know you. So this person really was harassing you. Okay. There's several witnesses. Oh, okay. That's what happened to me. I didn't even have to call the police. There was people out there that already took care of that because they had been watching me, and they saw I wasn't bothering nobody. And that's a lot of times how it goes with the gang stalking program. As long as you stay calm and you mind your own business and you don't bother nobody, it's going to become very obvious that people are harassing you. And good people will see, and the community will see, and